Hey everyone, if you're watching this is part B. This is our walkthrough. We're going to go into some of the details associated with the ads build. But in the previous video, we talked about our top performing strategies, offer frameworks, customer acquisition cost benchmarks, service prioritization, bunch of things, how we create graphics and ad copy, general frameworks for both of those things. Today, we're going to talk about the campaign build side. So actually inside of the ads dashboard, how are we building these campaigns out? So let's look at this together here. So we did a leads objective campaign. So it defaults when you get to the first screen to auction, and then you're going to click leads objective if you're following our protocol. And again, this is a friction reduction move. We know that if we keep people on platform, the platform likes that. We're not introducing a point of friction. We're going to increase lead capture rate, which all things considered, at the end of this funnel, we typically see that leads to a better absolute volume in terms of patients acquired. Now, you'll get more leads that are generally, on average, lower quality, but still more converted leads at the end of the day versus a landing page. That's been our experience, so that's why we're doing it this way. You can name this whatever you want. We're going to call it, we usually build ad sets for the different types of offers. So we're just going to call this like, I don't know, test med spa leads campaign. Name it whatever you want, doesn't matter. We're going to leave the buying type as auction, campaign objective as leads. We're going to leave the campaign budget at campaign budget there. But if you're splitting these into ad sets, you can control the budget per ad set. I think we typically actually do the ad set budget and control this at each individual ad set. So if I'm building like multiple campaigns, I want to control the budget. So we're going to turn off budget sharing in our case, but again, that's splitting hairs. You can try some of these A/B test features in here. We sort of do some of this manually, which I'll show you later on, but feel free to play with that as well. I'm going to go through like the must-haves. There are some of these things that are subjective. You could probably go either way with some of these. No special category necessary. We're going to click next. Now we're going to set our budget. Again, remember, the more aggressive you are with spending, the more patients you're going to acquire. So once you have confidence that these results are satisfactory, you want to be as aggressive as you can be with ad spend up to a point. And there's a point where diminishing returns don't make sense. Most of you aren't going to scratch near that in my experience. So I would say the main thing here is be aggressive once you're confident in the numbers, but you can start smaller if you want. But realistically, if you go back to our benchmark sheet from the last video, for something like an injectable campaign, you're going to expect to spend $100 to $200 typically, sometimes less, but just let's set the expectation that $100 to $200, maybe more depending on offer strategy, for customer acquisition cost. So at $50 a day, I'm going to average maybe one client that actually ends up booking and paying for services every 3 days. So you can kind of map that accordingly as you start to get your bearings under you. So we're going to go with instant forms as our conversion action, capturing the form inside of Facebook and Instagram. You're going to pick your page there, make sure that the page matches up with your actual business page. I'm just going to pick ours since we're doing this test campaign. You got to accept those terms. Now, here's a nuance. Maximize number of conversion leads is going to optimize based on a data point that you pass back in to the system. So it's going to show ads to people who are actually going to convert on the back end. You do this with something called Conversion API, but this is a little bit more complicated in terms of a setup. I think there are advantages to it, but you have to have more data for that to work. So let's just do maximize number of leads for now. Again, if you feel confident going with that next step, I would say maybe explore it, but just be cautious. You have to set additional things up to make that work. We're not going to cap our cost per result goal. We're going to sort of let the system do its thing. I'm going to keep dynamic creative off, no product catalog. Our budget, again, is set right here. Start date there. We're not going to put an end date because these campaigns ideally are evergreen. They're running in perpetuity. On our audience, you can do, one of the things that you can do as an exclusion list, further limit the reach of your ads. You have these exclusion lists here. If you want to incorporate an exclusion list in the audience build here, you can. But understand that there are some people who have HIPAA concerns with that. Now, if you're true med spa, doesn't take insurance, you're not technically subject to HIPAA. We feel pretty comfortable and confident uploading those lists, but understand if you are cautious about the patient data and how Meta might handle your patient list, then you don't have to go this route, but it does reduce the chance that existing customers are going to see your ads, which again, these are new patient acquisition ads. So there's an advantage to just not putting it in front of your existing clients on purpose. Beyond that though, let's set up our audience. And we're going to create a new one from scratch here. But let's go with our location targeting first and the demo targeting, because that's mostly what we're using here. So I'm going to set the floor as high as I can. In this case, let's go to 25. Again, you can exclude your custom audience list by uploading it there. Looking at these, because it's been a while since I've personally built one through this setup, so I just want to make sure everything's up to date and making sense here as I go through this. Advantage Plus is on. Let's go to the further limit, because I believe this is the one we're generally using right now on our client side ads. This allows you to have a little bit more flexibility on the bottom end age range, which can be important for a lot of you. And I'm not going to use it as a suggestion, because if I'm telling the system to optimize for leads and I got a bunch of young people that have no intent of purchasing or have no money filling out my lead forms, that can be a problem. Again, feel free to experiment and test. I'm not saying we've got all the answers. I'm just going to show you what we typically do. Say your floor is really 30. And again, we're going to follow roughly the 80-20 rule here, because Facebook's a cost per impression model. I kind of want to show my ads to people that I know are more likely than not to do business with us. Most MedSpa customers are 30 plus. So let's go ahead and put 30 as the floor. If you have a top end, you can add that too. Very important you remove the United States, because by default, you'll see the whole United States is there. I'm just going to do my town here. So let's do Mount Juliet, Tennessee, where I live. So we've got that narrowed here. And I'm going to uncheck this reach more people likely to respond. Because one of the problems here is if you're telling the system that I want more people that are likely to fill out the lead form, it'll find some click-happy lead form submitters over here in Cookeville that are never going to visit my med spa, and it'll start showing my ad to those people. So I want to limit that. I want to check that intentionally here. And then let's go back to our geographic targeting, because you'll notice that this limits you at a 10-mile radius. And I know my town, so this will be kind of a fun exercise. Let's go ahead and let's preview this on the map. And let's see what happens with the 10-mile radius. So the 10-mile radius, I start to reach areas in the east side of downtown Nashville. Most of those people, if they live there or anywhere else, are going to go there. They're not going to drive out further away from the city to Mount Juliet to visit a med spa. So general rule of thumb here is people will travel from a city out to where they live, and from where they live into the city, but they're not going to go in the opposite direction. So most people in Mount Juliet, for example, they might be more likely to drive toward Nashville to visit a med spa, less likely to drive away from the city to Lebanon over here. Yes, we say Lebanon here. I learned that when we moved here, not Lebanon here on the map. But so this is a challenge, because this treats every direction as being equal. And I know that that's not the case, because people will drive from further east. A lot of people from Lebanon are coming into Mount Juliet or through into the city. So I might want my ads to reach into Lebanon much more than I am likely to want them to reach into Nashville. Going north, we have a lake here. And Hendersonville looks not that far mileage-wise, but there's no bridge over this lake. And if you live here, you know that you have to drive around this lake, and it's a 45-minute drive in either direction to get to Hendersonville. The bridge is on this side that you have to go over, still a 45-minute drive. So I do not want Hendersonville in my ad targeting. This is one place I think people mess up early on, is they don't think critically enough about their geographic targeting. So I'm going to go back here, and we're going to remove this from our map. Let's get that one off. I have to add one more to move it off, but I'm actually going to click this pin drop feature. And with this pin drop feature, I can go, let's say my med spa is right here in the middle of my town. I'm going to drop my map pin there. And now, all of a sudden, I've got extra flexibility on my mile radius. Great little trick I feel like a lot of people miss. And if I'm in Mount Juliet and I want to start off my advertising to people that are most likely to do business with me, I know that people will drive down from the main area of town near I-40. That's straight up our main road through town. No big deal. It's more rural. It's literally called Rural Hill down here. This takes me over into the edge of the town near us, which is Hermitage. Fine. People will definitely drive from Hermitage. So I actually might, well, actually, it's going to be a good illustration. That looks good. North side of town before we get to the lake. Great. All those people are coming into Mount Juliet all the time and going a little east of town. But what I just said is I think people will actually drive a little bit more from over in Hermitage. So let's drop another pin now right on the other side of my pin here in Hermitage. And let's make that one a 2-mile bubble and see what that looks like. And this is not ever going to be perfect, but you can start to piece together a targeting map that is more realistically representative of where you're going to attract clients in your med spa. So I think that's a hack, one of those tricks that so many people miss when they build their ad targeting that I think just gives you an extra leg up, an incremental improvement to the performance of your campaign that you otherwise miss. Hey practice owners, Ricky here. And if you're tired of seeing your marketing as an expense, it's time to see it as the investment it should be. At Med Spa Magic Marketing, we specialize in driving predictable, massive growth for med spas. We helped one client generate over 2,500 new clients directly attributed from ads in less than 18 months. And these aren't outliers, this is our expectation. We're HIPAA certified by Compliancy Group, rated a perfect 5 stars on Google, and we provide true consulting and strategic direction to our clients, not just button pushing. If your med spa is able to consistently invest in marketing and advertising, and you want a transformative look at the exact frameworks, ads, offers, and strategies that we use for our clients, schedule your complimentary strategy session with me at medspamagicmarketing.com. That's medspamagicmarketing.com. So that looks good. I'm not going to add any detailed targeting to these campaigns. So no interest layer targeting. Watch what happens if I start to restrict this. So if I start to restrict this with detailed targeting, let's say I want people that they love yoga. Because that's another mistake I see people make. They start to get too cute with this. And they go, okay, I want people that have a yoga interest. My audience size goes from 117,000 on the top end to 46,000 on the top end. And I have no idea how many people are not interested in yoga that would have visited my med spa from the 70,000 people I just excluded. It also incrementally raises your advertising cost because as you shrink the audience, your cost per impression generally goes up. So I think that's just a whiff. We don't want to do that for the vast majority of med spas. Also, I'm targeting mostly women in my med spa. That's the reality for 85% of you. Now, you might have male clientele, and that's fine. But if you're spending money to reach men, and men don't convert because it's a very small percentage of men that meet this criteria that are interested in your services, you end up paying more for them. This does self-regulate to an extent because it's trying to find people that are more likely to fill out the lead forms. So if you want to try targeting all genders, that might be okay. I would still uncheck that other box, though, that we just saw below so that you're not intentionally reaching people. I guess in this one, it doesn't matter as much. But so you can maybe do something like this. Use as a suggestion, women, keep the checkbox on gender, but don't do that on the top section we just filled out under the location targeting. Definitely don't do that up there. Okay. In the age targeting, I would say either. Languages, if you are an English-speaking only practice, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you add that. That can be a challenge for businesses that don't toggle that box. Still can be a challenge sometimes otherwise. All right, so that's the gist of it. We're going to leave all of our placements intact. That's our basic setup at the top level. We're going to get to our campaign or our ad here now. And again, on the ad, we're going to upload our image. We're going to build our lead form, and we're going to upload our copy. So go back to the previous video. We talk about how to create visuals, our general framework for how to create image assets. Test creative here. So either hook focused reels that are really interesting and engaging, or static image ads that follow our general framework that we outlined in the previous video of the series. And then the copy, again, the bullet points are hit on the 3 things that influence the purchase decision, which is reputation / know, like, and trust, convenience, which is your location, and price. Make sure that you're hitting on all 3 of those things in the first part of the copy. Elaborate, get people excited specifically about who you are and why they're going to be excited to choose you as their new med spa home. And then give them really clear instructions on what we're asking them to do and what's going to happen next. On your lead form build out, let's switch back over to presentation mode now. So on your lead form build outs, let's go ahead and get onto the right slide here. Our recommendation is to be minimal here because, again, as you introduce additional points of friction, you reduce response rate and drive up customer acquisition cost. So here's the language that we use. Please fill out the following information to claim this special offer. Then someone from our team will reach out to you to answer any questions. Or you can say, please fill out this form to claim the special offer. You'll then be redirected to online booking or to connect with our team. Whatever is actually going to happen next, just be clear there. Just ask for the necessary information to follow up. First name, last name, email, phone would be my recommendation. You can leave those as either make them all recommended or leave one of the contact options as like maybe make email optional but require phone. You really want the phone number because that's our main source of conversations, is going to be via text message. You have to add a disclaimer for the text messages. So this is the disclaimer I would recommend adding. Contact information will be used for marketing messages and to share new promos. You can reply stop at any time to opt out. All right, so now let's go over some of the other things that matter here. As we get into the next video, we'll go through what I call the bad leads problem, how to automate the workflow, and where those leads are going in terms of where do we connect what we just built once we create that lead form, so that you're not just getting a pile dump of leads that your team has to deal with and manage. That's what we're going to talk about in the next video. But just wanted to give you a quick overview of the actual builder and the basic functionality and format of what goes on there in the ads build and the setup.